understand that September is the month of being of service. And the September affirmation, I express love by serving others. My love goes out to everyone in the world. Well, does that always work for us? You know, are there days when we don't feel that loving? I know I've experienced that. And it's fear versus faith that gets in the way to me. And that fear, you know, when I was here before, I talked about conscious language. And when we're unconscious or numb, we don't even know why we're unhappy. And then we get up to caring a little bit and work with our grief. And after the grief is fear. The fear comes. What will other people think about us? And of course, fear, the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. Well, it is false when we're afraid, right? Because there is a divine guidance and a divine love that is within us and around us and all through us all the time. But we lose that. Ernest Holmes, I had fun looking up different things. Faith has been a word that I didn't quite understand. You know, it's not like black and white. We know what those are. Or anger. We know what that is. What exactly is faith? It's just a word that is more about an experience. And if we haven't experienced it, maybe we feel uncomfortable about it. So faith means complete trust and confidence in someone or something. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something. And I don't know about you, but I haven't always had complete trust and faith. I thought I had to do a lot of it. You know, I had to carry the burden or figure it out or work through whatever was in the way. And Ernest Holmes says, I live in faith that there is a presence and power greater than I am that nurtures and supports me in ways I could not even imagine. I know that this presence is all-knowing and all-powerful and is always right where I am. Prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. So my hope for you today is that wherever there is that lack of faith, the things that I say and the tips that I share today will help you to get more in alignment back into that center point of knowing, trusting, and feeling the power and presence of that God consciousness that is you, that is within you, and that flows through you. So that when you go out to be of service, you will feel very, very confident and very, very inspired. I really enjoyed Lynn's talk last week when I viewed it, and the people that she talked about and the wonderful things that they were able to do. Just by having a little idea of seeing a need that was there, one gentleman was able to bring all kinds of help to Vietnam people who were experiencing trouble. And you know, I'm not that brave. I don't have that big a vision, but I have a vision. And I've been spending the last year getting organized, getting my book organized, getting things together so that I can go out and do my greatest works. Because after 63, that's what you're supposed to be able to do. Did you know that? And us baby boomers, you know, we're on that leg. It's time to do our greatest works. And those of you who are young, we've left a mess. So we need you to do your greatest works. So we all need to tap into our great inspiration, our divine creativity, and our self-expression so that we get the most out of this time here on life. And then what we give to others, we get so blessed by that giving. So that's been my get there. All the things that were in the way have been falling to the wayside. And I am a scientist as well. And so understanding how the brain works and how I can change those habits that have been fear-based to faith-based is what a lot of what's been happening this year. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. So what is faith? And how can we be stronger in expressing our faith? Jill Bolte Taylor is one of the people that I researched for my first chapter of my book, which is to take control of your own mind. And Jill had if you don't know, she had she's a neuroscientist, and she had a stroke on the left side of her brain. So it was going down, and her right side was coming up as she was trying to get help. And what happened was, because the analytical, solution-oriented, living in the past or the future, left side of the brain, was getting shut down, the right side of her brain was coming online. And the right side of the brain is where we live in nirvana. It's where we are one with all things. She said she would look at her hand and it looked like it wasn't even there. And she would go off into this wonderful, euphoric feeling, and she'd have to come back and say, wait a minute, I need to save my life. What do I need to do? And she would have to force herself. And it took her 45 minutes to get to getting some help. She came back from that with 8 years of therapy to share the message that we can all tune into that right side of the brain and have the left side of the brain just serve the right side of the brain instead of organize and run the show. I don't know about you, but I've had the left side of my brain running the show. Anybody else have that experience? So when we engage our feelings, our heart center, our love, then we're more in tune with what faith is. Because faith is not believing that God can, it's knowing that God will. And I use the word God. It took me a long time to get used to the word God. I recently saw a woman who used the word nature as the power that is behind it. So use whatever word works for you. But it is that innate ability that is around us and through us all the time that keeps us moving forward. Now, there's also neuroplasticity from Laura Boyd. So if you have areas that are fearful, the brain can change. Has anybody else besides me been trying for 60 plus years to change some habits? You know, to get that spark and be moving forward and doing what we really love doing instead of surviving or suffering or worrying too much or putting, you know, the big commodity these days is fear. That's what is being promoted in the media and in lots of different areas, that we be afraid, false evidence appearing real, instead of having faith. So we can change our brains and the way that we see things in order to have more of a peaceful mind by changing behaviors. Laura Boyd talks about how we can learn new facets that will change our brains, and all of our behaviors change our brain. We change in 3 ways. There's a chemical signals that go on between the neurons. When we think our affirmations or when we get into the feeling of how we want to be, we're stimulating that in our short-term memory. And then after the structure of connections between the neurons keeps going and we do that more often, we're changing the long-term memory. So then we remember, oh yeah, I wanted to feel good about this. And then after we do that often enough, we have created new active parts of our brain because the disconnect of the old neurons has happened and the new neurons have plugged in.